أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. Yeah, we'll start again. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Sisters and brothers in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Tonight is the final night, inshallah, of our series where we have been discussing how we can be God conscious. How can we be the people who are always aware of the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every single thing we do in our life. If I'm going to go to school, right, I am vigilant and conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in everything I do. If I'm going to work, I'm going to speak to my colleagues, I'm going to act, I'm going to do whatever, right? I have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala right in front of me. If I'm watching TV, right, if an indecent thing comes up, I know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is present, so I have to change the channel. If I am having a confrontation with my wife, I know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is present because He's everywhere, right? And so I have to be conscious of His presence. And so therefore I have to restrain my anger, right? When I am with people, I make sure that I am humble, right? Because I know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is present. I am conscious in every single second of my life of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's presence. So this is the verse that, you want to put it up a bit? Sorry. This is the verse that we have spoken about in our series. It's in chapter 2, verse 183, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu kutiba alaykum as-siyam. I have prescribed to you the siyam, the fasting, so that you can be conscious of me, you can be God conscious. And you must be sick of this figure. I certainly am. It's a model, whoever hasn't attended our sessions, it's a model where I believe, through my research, I believe that a muttaqi, a God conscious person will have to be high in these things. Yeah, will have to have high IQ, and we've described it as an Islamic IQ, the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and a high emotional intelligence, IEQ, Islamic emotional intelligence, where we talked about humbleness, we talked about how to restrain anger, and also in the last couple of talks we've been discussing about having an high ISQ, which is a Islamic spiritual intelligence, which is really me understanding the meaning and purpose of our existence. So today, inshallah, our final session, we will be continuing with the ISQ, the Islamic spiritual intelligence. And we go back to Sermon 193, which we have been referencing throughout our series in the last few days, which is Khutbatul Muttaqeen, a fantastic khutbah which we all must contemplate on and read and try to make sure that we do become those people that Imam Ali alayhi salam is describing. He's saying that those individuals, you want to be God conscious, you want to be al-muttaqi, then make sure you are, you follow these particular guidelines. And one of the things he says, فَمِنْ عَلَامَةِ أَحَدِهِمْ أَنَّكَ تَرَى لَهُ. And among the signs of any one of them is that you will see that he is active in guidance. Nashatan fi huda. Right? And our topic today, my brothers and sisters, is how can we be active in the community? The issue is that if I want to be a God conscious person, if I want to be a person who is a mu'min, is a true mu'min, there's not one of the main principles of a true mu'min is someone who doesn't just sit at home, read Quran, pray, fast, etc., but just sitting at home and does nothing outside in society. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, my brothers and sisters, says 50 times in the Quran, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, what after that? وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Not just الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا by itself. 50 times he says, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, those who believe and what? And do righteous goods. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that just you believe in me is not enough. I want you to be active in society. I want you to go out there and help in whatever way you can. And of course, a lot of people, unfortunately, are not very aware of our one of our furu' ad-din, right? The branches of Islam, right? We have usul ad-din, right? The roots of our religion, Islam, and we have furu' ad-din. And one of the furu' ad-din, which is obligatory on every single mu'min out there, is amr bil ma'ruf wa nahi anil munkar, enjoining good and forbidding evil. What does that mean? It means that if I actually have to go out in society and help in whatever way I can for my religion, and if I see something bad, I have to change it. If I see someone backbiting, if I hear someone backbiting, it's obligatory on me, my brothers and sisters, to go and tell him this is not right, it's backbiting. Not I join them. Remember, the person who also listens to the backbite is also getting sins. When you're hearing someone backbiting, doing ghiba, you're also sharing the sins, right? So it's obligatory on me to tell him or her, no, this is wrong. What you're saying is you're talking behind people's back, right? This is nahi anil munkar. And this is what is called forbidding evil. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in chapter 3 verse 104, وَلْتَكُنْ مِنْكُمْ ummah. He says, I want this ummah. He talks a lot about this ummah. And we think, let's revise ourselves and say, do we actually have an ummah? Because an ummah is actually united, and we'll talk about that later, right? وَلْتَكُنْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ. I want you to have an ummah. What does the ummah do, O Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What describe us? This ummah, he says, yes, the ummah is يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ. Those people who invite for good, right? And they enjoin good, يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. And they forbid evil. وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. You want to be successful, you want to be victorious, you want to be happy, as well as we talked about al-khushu' fi salah yesterday, you must enjoin good and forbid evil. These are the ingredients of being successful in this life. Now, I'm going to give you some statistics, and by the way, they are very striking statistics I have found, right? Just so that we are very much understand and we appreciate and know what we're going through in our communities. And these are statistics in the UK. My brothers and sisters, we have a rise in discrimination, hatred, bigotry, or even violence against Muslims in the UK. So basically, we have a rise in Islamophobia. Yes, you've all heard of that phrase? Islamophobia, right? What does Islamophobia mean? It means that it was a report came out in 1991 where they talked about this particular phenomena, which is called Islamophobia, is the unfounded hostility towards Muslims, and therefore fear or dislike of all or most of Muslims. Yeah, they have this hatred against Muslims. It's okay for me to criticize, for example, in a academic way, certain verses of the Quran. I say, well, this doesn't really make sense. Explain that to me. That doesn't mean you're Islamophobic. What Islamophobic means is that when you have hate against the religion of Islam, right? Where you go out in the media and say this about, or you say, like, for example, 50% of Muslims hate Britain. That's not really true, right? So you come out with all these statistics about Muslims that are not really true, but your aim is to try to destroy the religion of Islam. You've heard about, I don't want to bring these individuals' names in the pulpit because I think it does najasa on the pulpit. If I bring, the individuals who are in Twitter and everything, and their agenda is just to destroy Islam. 37% of the people surveyed in YouGov in September 2012 admitted they will be more likely to support a policy to reduce the number of Muslims in Britain. 37% of people. They said we want to reduce the level of Muslims in the UK. This is very, very striking. 62% agreed that Britain will lose its identity if more Muslims came to live here. Yeah? 62%. They actually thought that if more Muslims come and live here, we British people will lose our identity. And by the way, sometimes you don't blame these people for doing that, because we do also have a problem in our communities. Let's not just be infallible here and think we're amazing. Why are these people saying all these? I will go into the reasons why these people, Islamophobia is on the rise. But it's also important to reflect on ourselves. Are we out there in the community? Do I actually knock on the door of my neighbor and say hello? Right? Am I out there? Do I invite the people in my community, the non-Muslims, whoever, to my house? Am I engaged with them? Right? We tend to be very closed communities, right? And don't open out in society. Perhaps we should do that, because Islam, people tend to get this idea that Islam is a very private religion. No, it's in fact the opposite. It's a very open religion. Right? We welcome anyone to our religion. And you don't have to, we're not there to convert people to us. We're here to welcome people. The Muslim Council of Britain have this great initiative. Every single year they do this Visit My Mosque scheme. How many of us have heard of this Visit My Mosque scheme? Yes, right? A few of us have heard of it, but not many of us. It's a fantastic initiative where it's encouraging mosques and centers to open their doors for people to come outside, to come and visit their centers and mosques. I remember I visited my local center in the Visited My Mosque initiative 2 years ago, and I spoke to some of the neighbors, and they said they've been living tens of years here around that particular area, and they've always been afraid to come and knock the door. But now they're here, they just feel so happy that they've come in, because they see this big center. They've never had the opportunity to come in because we've always closed our doors, right? They come and see these people who are wearing hijab coming in, and they think, what are these people doing inside these centers? It's weird. We have nothing to hide. In fact, let them come. The more they come, the better, the merrier. We welcome them with open arms. Anyone disagree? Challenge me on this. Absolutely, I firmly believe in this. Let's open our communities. Why are we just so restricted just for ourselves? In fact, I call the IUS for next year's Muharram, or this year's Muharram, and also next year's Shahr Ramadan, to invite non-Muslims to these majalis. Right? Invite the people who are local. Give them a personal invitation. Say, please come in, sit here. We welcome you. Have food with us. We don't bite. Right? Come and see what we talk about. Let them hear the lecturer say whatever. Right? Let's make friends with them. The aim isn't to convert them. We're not those people who are like with these long beards, short dresses, brother, come convert you, give you out leaflets. No, we're not those people. We don't go in the shopping market, I look so horrible in my dress, right? I haven't brushed my teeth for ages. Right? And I call for people to come to Islam. This is not it. Imam Sadiq says, "Ud'u lana." He says, "Kunu lana du'atan samitin bighayri alsinatikum." He says, be called for our religion silently. You don't have to speak. You're presentable in the community. That's how you call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes? More than 50% of Britons regard Muslims as a threat to the UK. Did you know that? More than half of Britons, and again, this is YouGov poll. You know YouGov, it's an official survey organization. It does a lot of surveys. That's its job. And they found more than 50% of Britons regard Muslims as a threat. Did you guys know this? So 1 in 2 people will think that we are a threat in the UK. It doesn't want to work anymore. Okay. 35% of 10 to 14-year-olds agree that Muslims are taking over our country. A survey of 6,000 school children between the ages of 10 and 14 conducted by Show Racism the Red Card, this is an organization, reported in The Guardian 2015. Can you believe that? The children, they've been taught by their parents. So why is this rise? What's the reasons? So the research by University of Cambridge concluded that the mainstream media reporting about Muslims, right, communities, is contributing to the atmosphere of rising hostility towards Muslims. So we've got the media, right? It's a problem. The media, we've got, especially the right-wing media, are causing lots of issues, right? Outright misleading articles such as 1 in 5 Britain Muslims, they have sympathy for jihadists. Where do you get that from? Who here has sympathy for jihadists? Right? This is, of course, The Sun, the highest selling newspaper. Muslims silent on terror in the Times. Can you see all these right-wing newspapers? The Sun, the Times, the Daily Star, the Daily Mail. And UK mosques fundraising for terror. When you put that title, you're not really, maybe you'll explain in the, but that's a big title, isn't it? You say UK mosques fundraising for terror, that's an astonishing title, isn't it? Daily Star. Who reads the Daily Star, for goodness sake? 215,000 Islamophobic tweets in July 2016 alone. Where are we with all this? Am I actually checking Twitter, not just, doing social media with Snapchat, all these taking selfies and all that thing, right? Am I actually active in the social media? Use social media, okay. But make sure you use it so you can do Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy an Munkar. Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy an Munkar evolves as how the community evolves. At that time, it was jihad during our time, during the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa time, right? Now it's not the jihad of taking out a sword. Now it's the war in the media. That's how ISIS started to rise. They had a very, very clear plan in the media and in Twitter and everywhere else. Where are we with all this? Let's ask ourselves all these questions. Let's wake up as a community. 215,000 tweets. Am I actually aware? It's all against my own religion here. Something that I'm passionate about. And they're trying to destroy it. Let me give you a bit more details. You see, this is a striking thing in my point of view, my brothers. And if you want to challenge me, please do. Right? They are providing us, and as I said, we are at fault at this, because we're not as active in the community as we should be. We're not as open as we should be. We're not fighting Islamophobia as we should be. Right? But they are providing, and I don't want to specify who exactly they are. You know who they are, right? Generally, there are certain countries, certain agendas. They want to provide us with an alternative version of Islam. You want me to give you proof? I'll give you proof. Anyone seen this mosque in Germany, Berlin? They're saying this is the future of mosques. This is how mosques should be. It's where a lady who doesn't wear hijab at all, right? She's actually leading prayer and doing Salatul Jum'ah. And you've got a very mixed gathering there. And this particular mosque is open to all of them. Everyone. And what I mean by everyone is the people who have different sexual orientations and etc. Right? So it's very much welcoming. For us in this center, of course, we welcome those people, individuals as well, right? But not at the time where prayers and Salatul Jum'ah. This is a spiritual time, yeah? But they are trying to emphasize on this particular issue that we open our doors to everyone and anyone, and we defy these things, and we make sure that we change the scriptures so that a Muslim lady who's not wearing hijab can lead prayer. Right? Lead a mixed prayer. That's alarming. This is really alarming, my brothers and sisters. I don't know how many people have heard of this. Have you heard of the previous president of France, Sarkozy, right? He's written with hundreds of signatures of professional people, including imams, Muslims, a manifesto to change the verses of the Holy Quran. Have you heard of this? Where are you? Where have we been? Where is our responses to this? This is new. Muslims recoil at a French proposal to change the Quran. He is passionate in France to change the Quran. And if you don't accept it, get out of France. They want to change some of the verses. You know, they say that these are the jihad verses. We want to change those. We don't like them. And I went and saw the names of the signatures. The manifesto is in French. But I went and saw the names. There's Muslim names in them. Imams and others. Shame on them. Instead of actually fighting this, they go and join them. And this is where the hadith of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa alihi comes. Sallu ala Muhammad wa alihi. He says that there will be a time when Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy al Munkar will be reversed. There will be Amr bil Munkar wa Nahy anil Ma'ruf. Yeah? It will be reversed. We will be enjoining evil and forbidding good. This is exactly what they're doing, isn't it? This is today's news. Have you seen today's news about Austria? Right? Austria to shut down 7, they say, political mosques and expel 70 imams. Did you not hear about this today? No one? This is BBC News, and I've heard it on different channels as well. They have this new right-wing prime minister or chancellor, they call an Austrian chancellor, right? And he says, he's shutting down 7 mosques and 70 imams. This is what's going on in Europe, and we're busy with fighting with each other. Who do you follow? Oh, I follow Fadlullah. Oh, do you follow Fadlullah? Oh no, he's deviant. Who do you follow? No, I follow Sayyid Hakim. I follow Sayyid Sister. Who cares who you follow? Respect whoever follows whatever. We've got so many different problems in our communities, in society. Look at the Islamophobic rise here. Let's not get bogged down. This is what our enemies want to do. We have problems in our community. I keep on hearing here in Manchester as well, in different centers. Alhamdulillah, doesn't seem in the IUS, but in different centers. They fight. I want to be leader. No, I want to be leader. And this is where we engage ourselves with all these petty things, whereas look at what's happening in the world. And sometimes we deserve it, I think. Who's heard of the prevent strategy? Yes? Only very few of us have heard of the prevent strategy. And it's a disaster. I gave a Muharram sermon, broke all the traditions, right? In a Muharram majlis last year, and talked all about prevent. Because it has to happen, my dear brothers and sisters. Do you know what prevent is doing? Let me explain what prevent is first. It's a UK de-radicalization scheme. I wrote a whole thesis about prevent. Okay? Prevent is designed to stop people from supporting terrorism or becoming terrorists themselves. The fear is, my brothers and sisters, is that they are targeting people who are religious. Those people who are concerned about prayers. That was the time of Saddam in the time of Ba'ath Party. When he sees those people who are religious, they prosecute them. It hasn't come to that extent thus far with prevent, of course, but there are signs of these things, right? Give you examples. Everything, I'll give you examples. There are papers, there are proofs here. I'm not coming out with just myself. I'll give you lots of examples. A schoolboy was reported to the police for wearing a Free Palestine badge to school. This is Teachers Talks 2016. More examples. A primary school in Birmingham reported a 10-year-old Muslim boy to police on suspicion of extremism after he complained about not having a prayer room. You want more? A child of three is among hundreds of children identified by police as being among those vulnerable to extremism. Tower Hamlet Council reported. Parents in Stoke-on-Trent were brought in because their children were using inappropriate language such as Alhamdulillah. You know these crazy people who blow themselves off and go and stab people, right? They say unfortunately, these words. They say, Allahu Akbar, Alhamdulillah, all these things. And then, unfortunately, people tend to associate that with terrorism. 2 college students were stopped by a lecturer who noticed that they have made way for 2 female students and lowered their gaze. Yeah? They were reported to senior team for concerning behavior. Why are you not looking at the lecturer here? All what I've just told you, if you're interested, you go to Anderson Report 2015. He's QC, he's an independent person who went and investigated all this. He's not Muslim, Anderson, yeah? He's a lawyer. He went and investigated and prevented and provided his report to the government. And the government take him very seriously. So I'm not bringing all this from a Muslim perspective. This is Anderson. He's reported all this. Figures show that almost 300 under-18s were referred to officials under the Prevent strategy during those years. Of these, at least 16 involved children under the age of 10. This is The Guardian 2016. So these are striking. I can go on and on, right? Striking figures, my brothers and sisters. What does the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam say? He says, "Man ra'a minkum munkaran falyughayyirhu biyadih." He's instructing us. He says, whoever sees something evil, when you see a tweet, this is evil in our time. When you see a tweet which is Islamophobic, when you see the Prevent strategy doing some horrible things, right? Man ra'a minkum munkaran falyughayyirhu biyadih. Go and type. Not ghayyirhu, take a knife out. This is not the time, right? We don't believe in this. Absolutely not. We don't believe in violence. But we believe in actually defending our religion. And the way to defend our religion these days is to go in social media and defend it. Yes? Use your hand on the keyboard. بيده. فإن لم يستطع, if you can't do that, فليغيره بلسانه. Use your tongue to change. Speak. This is so applicable in this century, isn't it? فإن لم يستطع فبقلبه. If all that you can't do, change it in your heart. فذلك أضعف الإيمان. And that's the weakest of imans. At least change it in your heart. Why, our Rasul? Because if you change it in your heart, then you might actually start to go and do it with your lisan and then do it with your hand later on. At least start with your heart. Are we actually doing it in our heart? So what we need to do is action. Yes? Number 1 is, and I don't want to say this just so that I've finished, alhamdulillah, and go back home. Please, you guys are the structure of this community, right? And there's lots of things out there. If you have to make the time. It's wajib on you to make the time. It's like the salah and the siyam that you are fasting now, right? It's wajib. Amr bil ma'roof and nahy an munkar, it's wajib. And of course it's wajib only for those people who are able, of course. Yes, it has conditions. As how salah has conditions, as how siyam. But generally speaking, it's wajib. Sitting at home doing nothing is not right, especially when you have a rise in Islamophobia. lobby the government to improve the prevent scheme. So for example, call the government, call your local MP, right? To work with Islamic scholars and activists, lawyers and psychologists to identify radicalization. Who can identify radicalization? I wrote a whole thesis on this. There's different schemes and models about who's radical and who's not. Surely they should come back to the scholars, to the lawyers, Muslim lawyers, psychologists, Muslim. They can identify who's a radical Muslim or not. Surely, yes? They can't. So if I am praying a lot, I'm not a radical. If a child is wearing a Palestinian badge, he's not a threat to the community. If two brothers walking and they lower their gaze, they're not a threat, they're not radical people, they're not terrorists. We need to educate them on this, advise them on this. Don't just say, no, they won't listen to me. Try it first. If they don't listen to you, then you have a hujjah. Number 2, build relationship with schools. A lot of you have kids here, right? Have you actually built a relationship with school? I'm proud to say my wife now, she signed up to be she was elected to be a governor of her school, of my kids' school, right? Go and try to be a governor, for example, in your local school. Find out what's going on in the school. If the teachers, by the way, all the teachers, any teachers here? No, one teacher here. One teacher maybe, right? You have to go through, and I think doctors as well, and some other people, you have to go through the prevent scheme. You have to go through the contest, the prevent, so that you're aware or have to identify a radicalized person. But maybe they don't know the teachers. Maybe what you should do is ask to give a presentation about Islam and Muslims in your school. What's wrong with that? Say, I want to gather all the year 1, year 2, year 3 kids. And okay, forget that. If you're not qualified to teach school kids, teach the teachers. Gather all the teachers in their inset days, I think it's called, and then teach them about Islam. Say, look, if you find a child that wants a prayer room, that's fine. He's not radical. Yeah? It's our duty to do this. Don't leave it for other people. If teachers are struggling with a topic, we are happy to come in and facilitate debates and discussions. Recently, a few days ago, I had a talk by a Muslim, a sister in Mahfal Ali in London, northwest London, in Harrow. And she talked about, she's a teacher, but now she's a teacher in a Catholic school. She's a Muslim teacher in a Catholic school. And she was walking once, she took a day off Eid, right? And then when she came back after Eid, some of her pupils came to her and said, Miss, where were you? And she said, it's our Eid. She said, what's Eid? He said, it's a Muslim festival. She said, oh, are you Muslim? She said, well, duh, I'm wearing hijab. But they didn't even know that wearing hijab is even to that level. And they said, what is Islam? Are you a terrorist? And all these. They started asking her. I think they're secondary school or primary school, right? They said, are you a terrorist? Is this? Oh no, she said that they asked her if your religion is one of those, people who propagate terrorism and all these things. And then so what she decided to do is to do debates and discussions in her school. She brought the kids together. She took permission from the head teacher and started doing that. This is what you mean. This is what Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy an Munkar is. You take things on your own. Sometimes we rely on community leaders. Don't just rely on them, on scholars to do things. No, don't just rely on these. We have to take the initiative. Yes? I do my own mini project. Challenge the media. If there is an Islamophobic message in the media, you challenge it. There's so many, as I said, 215,000. If you're active in Twitter, make sure you have this monitoring scheme where you keep on looking for Islamophobia and try to follow those Islamophobes. I don't want to name them, right? There's lots of Islamophobes in the, and recently the MCB have done great work. A brother called Miqdad Versi, who I'll have to mention, he's done fantastic work. He's like a one-man, revolution, right? He just monitors all these things and he challenges them. And now they've challenged the Conservative Party because they found Islamophobia in the Conservative Party. And it's all over the media now. It's doable. If he can do it, we can all do it. But he needs support. And there are so many other projects that no one has done. What we also need, my brothers and sisters, is unity. If we all come together in the name of Islam, in the name of our religion, whether you are Sunni, whether you are Shi'i, it doesn't matter. We are united in our communities, right? Let's open up. If most, let's open up to the Sunni community. What's wrong with that? Why are we so rigid? Why don't we invite the Sunnis here? Where are the Sunnis here? Yeah, where are they? Why don't we open our doors to everyone? Yeah. Let's not become so rigid that it's us or no one else. Open up. Unity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala traces so much on unity, even the mic is tired. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala concentrates so much on unity. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Again, remember, آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Tawasaw. They come in unity. Right? الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. You want to become a God-conscious person? You become united. So, inshallah, these are some lessons that, or not lessons, forgive me, these are some pointers that we can all come together and try to be active in the community. Because if you want to be a muttaqi, if you want to be a God-conscious person, then you have to be an active person. Not just the prayers and all the stuff we talked about, but also you have to be out there. It's very, very important. Don't say you don't have time. This is an excuse. When you go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, say, oh Allah, I didn't have time. I'm just so busy with work and I don't even see the family. No, no. You do have time. You just need to balance your life. I have a lecture in Muharram I gave about how to balance life for a Muslim, right? I'm not saying you should go and listen to it, but maybe you should. So I wanted the last 5 minutes or less than that, inshallah, to summarize all the series, okay? In case you've woken up just now. Again, that figure. I thought I'll just add it in, so in case you haven't seen it. Yes, we talked about that model. I'm not going to explain it again. But we talked the first night about the double IQ, the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Go out there and read, right? Make sure every single moment you have, limit the time of TV, my brothers and sisters. Limit the time of TV. Maybe you can educate yourself on TV as well. There are good documentaries out there, right? But also try to pick up the book. Lots of books out down there and others online. Al-Islam.org is a fantastic website. Also help it, donate to it. I think it's fantastic. You know, al-islam.org, right? Has fantastic resources out there, right? Try to search for something you're interested in and read. Keep on reading, and make sure that you and not just, as I said, not just Islamic books. You can read about other books that will help you get closer to Allah subhanahu. For example, I'm interested in self-development books and self-awareness, exercises. Listen to TED Talks. Anyone listens to TED Talks? TED Talks are fantastic. They're like short 15 minutes, but it's basically people who have worked 30 years, they present their work in 15 minutes. I usually have it, listen to it while I'm doing other things, but half I sort of listen to that. But you listen to a lot of things. There's lots of beneficial stuff out there. It doesn't have to be Islamic resources, right? But we can listen to other things. Restrain anger. Remember we talked about the double IQ. No, that's not what we talked about. We talked about the IEQ, right? The emotional intelligence, how we can restrain our anger. Can anyone remind me of, at the end, what did we talk about when we talked about restrain our anger? The model, something to do with the, subhanallah, mashallah. Sorry? Blood pressure. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. We need a doctor, blood pressure. We talked about the mind, yes? And trying to how to control thoughts. Anyone was here? Maybe a whole new set of people were here. I believe that firmly, all right? How do we control our thoughts, right? And make sure that our minds don't take over us. You are not your mind. What you are is your aql, your spiritual heart. We talked about being humble, yes? And the times when we get arrogant and things like that, and we went to different examples and we gave lots of lessons. Please refer to the lecture if you want. Then we moved to ISQ, where we talked about patience during calamities, the different times of calamity. We said, say, Rabbi massani al-dhur, like Nabi Ayyub, wa anta arhamur rahimin. Right? I've been afflicted by calamity, and you are the best of merciful. Right? You're most merciful. And inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Yesterday we talked about submissiveness in salah, how we can be submissive towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during our salah. We talked about comprehending His divine unity. We talked about trying to do the concentration in my wudu, right? And we talked about different things, and at the end we ended with making sure that we exercise well, we eat well. And these are all very important components for us to get connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And remember that every single part of you, every single limb that you have has to be conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, obedient and humble to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Otherwise you are not conscious of Allah during your prayers. And finally today we talked about how important it is to do amr bil ma'ruf wa nahi anil munkar. And that is a series of my finished. I thank you for all the feedbacks. Today, inshallah, in the Q&A, I will be going over certain feedbacks that I've got. And if you have any questions, I will be very happy, inshallah, to answer them. If I don't know the answer, I will say I don't know the answer. It's absolutely fine to say I don't know, by the way, especially for the kids. Yeah? It's okay to say I don't know. Some people make up things, right? You ask me a question, I say I don't know. Right? That's absolutely fine. So I'll try my best to answer whatever questions you may have. I wanted to ask everyone to forgive me if I've said anything that might have upset anyone, for my shortcomings, inshallah. I've had a great time, and inshallah I won't be coming. Inshallah I'll try to come back here. I wanted finally to and we've got like 1 minute left to iftar. I wanted to thank the IUS committee, because these individuals have been working tirelessly throughout the nights and throughout the years, in fact, for what they have provided. They provided for the community, and this is what also being active is part of. Those people who are at the back, those people in the kitchen who you don't see at all, but they've been working tirelessly, and all the volunteers who are not in the IUS committee. And I actually wanted to say their names. Forgive me, all of them, but I think it's important we recognize these individuals. So from the brothers Hussein Ali Hassan, Muhammad Ali Hassan, Muhsin Ali Hassan, Hasib Sheikh, Muntadhar Rikabi, Hassan Khalili, Haidar Al-Saffar, Ahmed Qais, Ali Ja'fari, Muhammad Hussein Ja'far. And from the sisters, Sister Zanubia Hassan, Sarah Ali Riza, Sister Ghazala Khan, Maryam Muhammad, Amina Al-Saffar, and Skina Murtada. And of course, how can I forget Sayyid Jawad Naqvi, who's been instrumental in doing all this magnificent work. And I just want you all to recite a very, very loud salawat for all the volunteers in IUS. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Ahsantum. And tonight, inshallah, the Fatiha, we will read Surah Al-Fatiha for two people, Sayyid Ali Ishrati and all marhumin of the family of hosts, and Sister Yasmin Ahmed, daughter of Haji Khurshid Ahmed. Inshallah pronounced it right. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته وصلوا على محمد وآل محمد. And also Fatiha for Muhammad Rafiq Khan, inshallah. Al-Fatiha.